I think that's true with churches now too. Like I think the biggest challenge, because you don't see a lot of churches after a split, you don't see a lot of churches like healing that split and coming back together again, and that's going to be very challenging because you know Bartholomew probably likes being patriarch, right? What happens when he's just another bishop? I don't think he may not like that, right? So,
Folks don't
and there are
like
a lot of other people within that hierarchy who feel the same way, who now they're having to give up some of the authority that they have right now. I'm sure it's an ego boost to be the pastor of your own church, right? And so, let's say you could handle all the philosophical disagreements between an individual Protestant church and Rome, and you've decided that Rome that you agree with everything that the church that the Catholic Church does. Okay, but now you're just going to be a priest assigned to that church, one of several probably who gets to rotate in and out. You don't own the church. Your word doesn't go in the same way that it did before. I
Well,
don't think a
I
lot
do
of
want to push back
preachers are
on
going to want to give that up.
I do want to push back on something that you said, that like it's an ego boost to be a pastor of your own
Yeah.
church. No, it's not a prize to be cherished. What it is a burden to carry for those who can't carry it.
Yeah, in theory, that's what it's supposed to be, right? But
No,
what
don't
I'm
get me
saying
wrong.
is in
There are
practice.
some people that it is just a
Yeah,
monument to their ego. Yes, I will
yeah. I
totally.
mean, look at that guy. Who's that guy in Houston? Who?
Austin.
Yeah, Olstein. Yeah. I mean, come on. Like, there's no
Well, no, he's
way
a
he
false
would give all
prophet.
that up to just like be
Yeah.
like some traveling circuit priest, like in the church.
Oh no, he absolutely wouldn't, because he's enriching himself through it tremendously, and he's a false prophet. And what I mean by that is, like, he will just preach things that are not in accordance to God's word. Like when he was on Larry King, he basically did the Unitarian Universalist. Everybody gets into heaven so long as you're a good person. You don't
Yeah,
necessarily
sure, because that's how he makes his money,
go
right?
way
He
out.
tells people what they
Yeah.
want to hear.
Yep.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, false prophet's gonna false prophet. There's really not much you
simony,
can
in
do
my
about it.
opinion.
What's that?
It's simony.
Ooh.
It is. You're
See,
giving the gifts of God to somebody, or you're promising that they can have the gifts of God, right? But without having to do the things you're supposed to do to get it.
that is, boy, there's a word that we don't get these days. I'm not gonna call people stupid who don't know what that means, because I just learned about it like 2-3 months ago. So like I'm not gonna be the kind of guy that calls you stupid for not knowing something I just learned. But yeah, it's basically like seizing the vestments and seizing the titles, if you will.
Yeah, I mean Simon. There's more than one Simon in the Bible, but this particular Simon, uh, they call him Simon the magician. He basically saw Jesus performing miracles, and he said, "Hey, teach me how to do that. Teach me how to do all your tricks." He says, "Look, I follow all the laws. I do everything that a Christian is supposed to do. You know, and Jesus just wouldn't teach him his tricks, so to speak.
Yeah.
And because, of course, what he wanted to do was he wanted to run around and be the guy who performs these amazing miracles, and people would follow him, right? And so, yeah, that's what simony is, right? So if you take the trappings of what it is to be a Christian, and then you offer to sell that to people to benefit themselves instead of to save souls, whatever, then yeah, that's the practice of simony, and it's a sin, of course.
Yep. Yeah. And so, yeah, like I will be honest with you, like, okay, like I said, what makes non-denominational churches great can also be their greatest weakness. And what you highlighted is something that does happen a lot, is where basically they're trying to aggrandize themselves and it becomes a monument to their ego, and they're trying to look at me. Now Christ said, they've received their reward here on earth.
Yeah,
So don't worry, they're not going to get their heavenly reward. And every preacher, they're terrified by when the Gospel of Matthew says, "But I preached your name and I performed miracles in your name." And Christ says, "Away from me, you who practice lawlessness, I never knew you."
yep,
And
yep.
so that, you will either hear that at the end of your life, or you will hear, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." And that's the one I'm praying for. Now, I it's kind of fascinating that we kind of landed here on simony. Like I never thought
Yeah.
I would ever hear that word on my podcast, which I
Right.
have to give you credit there. I was trying to think there was another point that I was going to make off of that, but yeah, well, now before we start wrapping up here.